This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association. Your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Wednesday, the 14th of February, Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday. So glad you can join us on such a busy day. Coming up a little later in the program, we've got breaking news from Iowa State University about a 2,4-D resistant Waterhemp plant in Wright County. We'll be talking with them about that, but first we're going to kick things off and look at those markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and it's time to talk with Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. And Kaden, what did we see come out of those markets today?
Tell you what, man, unfortunately, more of the same that we've seen really since Thanksgiving. It's just unbelievable, the selling capacity that these funds have, but, they continue to do it today. Corn has been down all day, closing down 6 to 7 cents. Beans going to close down about 15. They tried to hold in early this morning, tried to stay close to even, but ultimately gave up as well. So, like I said, just continuing to see selling come across in waves, both in the grains and in the cattle today.
All right. So, what's been putting the pressure on that corn and soybean market? It started out in the red this morning, and it looks like, like you said, it just kind of kept getting pounded.
Yeah, I think a lot of the trade, especially today, is kind of looking forward to tomorrow's outlook for them from the USDA. The private estimates, especially that Bloomberg reported, look like carryout going to increase for both corn and beans in the 24 marketing year. I don't think that's really a big surprise to anybody, but just seemed like the trade kind of latched onto that today ahead of that report tomorrow. And like I said, just continuing to sell on it as the day went on.
And it's been kind of a rock and a hard place. Farmers are trying to obviously get as much as they can for their grain, but on the same token, if nobody's buying it, our prices are going to keep falling. And that's, it's kind of a catch-22 for them.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's one of those deals that it just kind of messes with your mind where you think, we've been down for 3 months almost. Corn's lost, 60, 70 cents. At some point relief is coming. But at what point, we've been saying for 2 months we're due for a bounce and we just can't find it. And same for beans, we're over $2 off the high now that we made there right before Thanksgiving. So it's getting to the point, unfortunately, where farmers are needing cash, to pay prepays and inputs and cash rents coming up. You also have a pretty big roll coming up. A lot of guys have just corn on basis off the March contract. That thing's going to have to be decided on. So, unfortunately, you're exactly right. Farmers in a hard place. It's one of those deals where the longer you wait, it just seems to get worse and worse, unfortunately.
All right. So then switching gears to that livestock side, obviously we saw cattle and hogs yesterday lower. And you mentioned a little bit here in the opening remarks about how cattle played out. Just kind of let us know what it was that moved those numbers today.
Yeah, cattle lower today. Live cattle $1.10 off the April feeders, $2.15 lower today. So again, I kind of feel like long term, as I've kind of been talking with my guys, I feel like long term, supply is still short enough that the cattle market's still going to remain friendly. Our cattle guys on staff still feel like we got plenty to play out the rest of the year. Maybe just kind of a tired market right now, kind of rolling over. But hogs today up almost $3.50. It's been kind of a sideways market last week. We're down quite a bit from the highs, but we do have a double top in on April at 86 or so. Going to close the day about 84.5. So from a hog producer's perspective, I think I'd be targeting, if we got up to 86 again, I think I'd probably be doing something there, whether it's puts or on the short side, because I think that double top probably going to hold for the time being.
All right. Well, a lot of things for us to be thinking about when we have these active markets. If folks want to start looking at some of the options they've got, especially as this 24 year gets ready to get underway. And, it's never too early to be thinking about what to do with those crops that you're going to be marketing here this fall, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. How do they get in touch with agmarket.net to start making those plans?
Yeah, you're spot on. 23's kind of turned into an on-rate crop to market. So let's, do a good job with 24 and be a little bit proactive there. But just go to our website, agmarket.net, and you can reach anyone from our team there. we're kind of in the thick of it right now, kind of putting, continuing to do some more with 24 crop, get those marketing plans put together and so forth. So you can reach myself and anyone from our team there.
All right. Well, Kaden, thanks so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again next week.
I appreciate it, Dustin. Thanks a lot.
That's been Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. We're going to go ahead and take a look at those closing numbers. That comes to us from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. March corn down 6.5 at 424 and a quarter. Soybeans down 15 3/4 at 1170 and a half. Soy meal down $1.50 at 343.30. Soy oil down 95 cents at 46.35. Chicago wheat down 12 cents at 585 and a half. Kansas wheat down 6 3/4 at 587 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 9 1/4 at 662 and a half, and oats up 1/4 cent at 382 even. Live cattle for February down $1.35 at 182.40. Feeders were down $1.77 at 246.22. Lean hogs up $3.45 at 84.52. Pork cutouts up $3.25 at $92 even. Class 3 milk down 4 cents. That's at 16.15. And that's been our ag market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, we talk with Iowa State University's Meaghan Anderson about 2,4-D resistant water hemp found in Wright County. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, water hemp has been one of those weeds that, along with Palmer amaranth and also giant ragweed, have become a problem and something we've always had to kind of keep ahead of. Now, different herbicide programs have been working together to try to find ways to keep those plants under control. However, 2,4-D is one of those big tools that we've been using for so long, and it's almost become seemingly a magic bullet. But today we have found out from Iowa State University that magic bullet may not be infallible. A plant was found in Wright County that was resistant to 2,4-D. However, it was only found in a ditch bank. Andy Peterson talked with Meaghan Anderson of Iowa State University, and this is what they had to say.
Resistant water hemp discovered, huh, Meaghan?
Yes. Well, suspected population. So that's always it's kind of an intensive process to go through to prove that a population is surviving 2,4-D at an unexpectedly high rate compared with like what a natural population out in the environment might do. And so I believe they've gone through one round of testing and they'll do one more this spring. And so if it survives like they think it has been, right, if it's proven to be resistant, then they should be able to do that yet this summer.
So let's talk a little bit about the case, and that Corteva had reported a potential 2,4-D resistance. Now it's in a ditch, right? It's not in the field, which changes the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, it does change the conversation a little bit, but I think it still serves as a good warning to all of us, because we know that 2,4-D is being used on a widespread basis, a lot more than it was, say, 10 years ago. And so this was a case where I believe a farmer reported, I don't know if it was a control failure or just a concerning survival within the crop field. And so Corteva sent some folks out there and they collected seed from water hemp that were both in the crop field as well as water hemp that were in this ditch area adjacent to the field. And so they were actually able to kill the water hemp in the crop field when they tested it, right? They tested that seed in a greenhouse, but they were not able to successfully kill, or at least it was concerning enough that they're calling it suspected resistant population in that ditch anyway.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about this, obviously, or have at length with glyphosate and what's happened with resistance issues there. So the concern, obviously, is that we continue to lose modes of action in broadleaf herbicide control with no new ones on the horizon, in the absence, I guess, of proper management. So that's, I think, probably as much as anything, the warning here is make sure that the rates are as they should be, and that you're doing due diligence here so we can maintain the integrity of 2,4-D.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things we need to keep in mind for the future of chemical weed control, because we know that that's, by far the most broadly effective and efficient option for controlling weeds in the size of crop production that we're doing here in Iowa. And so making sure that we are using, focusing on that kind of whole system of the chemistry, everything from when we start out in the spring, making sure that we are using full rates of effective pre-emergent herbicides, and then following up with a timely manner using effective post herbicides. And oftentimes we're going to want more residual in because of the way water hemp grows, right? It just emerges over such a long period of time that we need to have a long period of weed control to be able to effectively try to manage it. But we are kidding ourselves if we think that herbicides are going to, be what we'll be able to get away with long into the future. I believe a lot in our ability to discover things and our intelligence as a society, right? So I think we can find some new chemistries, but we're never going to find anything, I don't think, that's as good as glyphosate was. And so we need to be looking for any opportunity we can to incorporate other things into our weed control to basically take the pressure off the herbicides that we have, because I know everybody is kind of waiting for this one new herbicide to come out that has some pre-emergent activity against water hemp, but it's not going to be like a glyphosate kind of taking down 3-foot tall water hemp. It's just going to be one small piece of the puzzle, and we really need to focus on other small pieces of the puzzle that we can help to tamp down our water hemp issues.
Absolutely. I'm sure there'll be lots of conversation about this in the future. I guess the last thing that I wanted to ask you, how concerned are you with this news now, given what's happened with dicamba in the court system here earlier in the week?
That's a really good question, right? I think
that's why I asked it.
Yeah, I think we already knew this was happening, right? So like this is not at all surprising to me, right? And to think that it's just this one field in Wright County, Iowa is totally mistaken, right? It's happening all over the state. But I think we have really good managers. And so those farmers who have had clean fields in the past, they're the ones that are adapting to these changes, and they have smaller water hemp populations that are being exposed to these chemistries. And so I think on the whole, for the most part, we're able to figure out how to control water hemp still, like really well, considering how many resistances our water hemp populations have. It's very impressive. And yeah, certainly the loss of chemistries along with the resistance is it's a little bit of a concern, but we have resistance issues growing in dicamba, just as we have in 2,4-D and just as we have in other chemistries that we use. And so it's important to keep as many tools in the toolbox as we can. But farmers, they can figure out how to adapt, I think.
That again was Meaghan Anderson of Iowa State University. And that brings us to the end of today's program. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our e-newsletter. And also you can find our daily free podcasts on market analysis delivered through Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Andy Peterson, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.